All right. Well, good afternoon to everyone. I am Dr. Renee Dorn. I'm GSEP's Director of Alumni Relations, and I welcome you to our Student Alumni Roundtable for the Tesol program. And it is my pleasure to introduce to you all of the speakers that we will have for today. And for our staff speakers, we have the director of the TESOL program, Dr. Kevin Wong, as well as Dr. Jennifer Miyake Trapp. They are co-directors for this year, but Dr. Kevin Wong will be taking over the reins, and you will hear from both of them today. We also have with us Masa Zojaji. If I didn't say that right, please let me know, Masa. She is our Associate Program Director for GSEP, and she works with the TESOL program. You'll be hearing from her. And then you'll also be hearing from our alumni from the TESOL program, Natalie Peralt, Carlos Jimenez, and Yunan Shin. So we welcome all of our guest speakers for today. My assistant, Sophia Henriquez, will be working with all of us today during a question and answer period. And as you can see, I'm Dr. Renee Dorn, GSEP Director of Alumni Relations, and Sophia Henriquez is our Alumni Relations Analyst. So welcome to everyone. And I'm going to start with Dr. Wong and Dr. Miyake Trapp. So tell us a little bit about what's going on with the TESOL program. We all want to hear about it.
All right, well, thank you so much for coming here. It's so exciting to see prospective students, current students here in the room with us, as well as our alum. It's so wonderful to just have the family kind of back together. It had been a very challenging year, as we know, but now we are back at it, back in things with in-person instruction. We're on the beautiful campus of Malibu, as well as Calabasas. And our students are in the thick of a lot of classes that they're juggling and balancing, but really thinking critically about language and language acquisition and sociolinguistics and other things like that. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We have a really tight cohort of students. You know, they're coming over for Thanksgiving dinner later this week. So yeah, just really happy to be here and to share more about our program with everybody. Dr. Maggie Trapp, do you want to supplement or say anything else?
Absolutely. Like Dr. Wong said, we're just so grateful, and blessed for health and the privilege of being able to be back on campus and continuing on with some of our wonderful transition opportunities that we have in the TESOL program. So our students recently attended the TESOL CATESOL conference, which was quite lovely for them to have that experience. And we're looking towards the summer as well and being able to engage our students in on-campus clinical practicum experiences. So we are just in that exciting transition of keeping what we learned from the pandemic and the good aspects of online teaching with reintroducing some of the wonderful aspects of our on-campus program as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Wong and Dr. Miyake Trapp. I wanted to ask you, for those prospective students who may be interested in applying for the TESOL program, what can they expect to learn once they become a part of the program?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. We have a very rigorous, very intentionally planned curriculum that we guide our students through from fall, spring, and then summer term. It's a one-year program. You come in, come out, and then you're already teaching in whatever capacity you might like. So we go through things like, what is language and English language even? What does it mean as a system? What does it mean as a society? Then we kind of shift towards so how do I actually teach it? How do I create a lesson plan? How do I assess how my students are doing? And then after that, we actually go into classrooms, as Dr. Maggie Trapp had alluded to, where we have a clinical placement where we put students in in person and perhaps even virtual environments to think about how to actually engage, get some coaching experience and working with actual students. So I think that when you come to the program, it is a commitment, but we are committed to helping you just become this excellent language teacher. And you can kind of leave with confidence that you know that you've just had a really good education and can really make that impact that you're hoping to make.
And additionally, Dr. Wong talked about like the rigor of the program and what to expect and how well prepared our alums will be. You're also coming to a larger community, the GSEP and Pepperdine community. And I think that we can't, just underestimate the power of being a member of the GSEP community and the Pepperdine community. You'll be part of the family. And you'll have opportunities like this to connect with and be mentored by our alums, to access all of the various resources and support systems that are embedded as part of the program when you're a member of the larger Pepperdine community. So I think it's both, right? It's that program experience as a TESOL student, and it's also the community membership and being able to just really thrive within a larger extended family in GSEP and Pepperdine.
Well, that's wonderful information. That gives some good insight as to what a student can expect once they become a part of the TESOL program. So that's wonderful. I thank both of you, and I will come back to you once we talk to our TESOL alums to give us more insight as to what they experienced while they were in the program. So let's talk to some of our alums. So we have Natalie and Carlos and Yunan. So I'm going to ask the three of you some questions about your time within the TESOL program. So first of all, I want each of you to introduce yourselves and then tell us what you're doing currently. So Carlos, I'm going to start with you.
All right, thank you for allowing me to share today. It's nice to be here, and the TESOL program is such a big part of me and just helping and shaping me. I'm just really excited to be here and to speak with you all. But for me, my pathway was in 2012. I was actually I was part of the first TESOL cohort that we've had here at Pepperdine. So it was a group of 8 of us, and it was just such a great experience. I can't really say how I found Pepperdine. I was doing some research while I was finishing my undergrad over at Chico State and heading my way back down to Southern California, and I just kind of searched online and found this opportunity that Pepperdine was having this condensed program, within a year, TESOL master's program. So I enrolled, and while I was a student, I attained a graduate assistant position as a writing tutor. So I had some tutoring background, just volunteering and just and during my undergrad, so I became a graduate assistant writing tutor. After I graduated in 2012, I spent about a year teaching just independently, a small school in the Irvine area back when the TESOL program was at the Irvine campus originally. So I taught for about a year, and then a full-time position in writing support, similar to my GA role, was opening up at Pepperdine. And actually my current supervisor, Gina Meister, who was my supervisor as a graduate assistant, she encouraged me to apply. So I had that relationship established as a student, and it seemed to translate later on. A year later, she encouraged me to apply, and I applied for a full-time position in writing support. It was assistant manager of writing support at the time. And then I worked my way up over the next, 8 years or so to manager of writing support. So I'm currently manager of writing support as my full-time position. And on top of that, I was blessed to attain a teaching position as an adjunct professor. So I actually taught a few classes in the TESOL program, which was really great. I have a linguistics background, so some of the language analysis, the classes have changed a bit, as we now have it currently. But I taught some of those language classes, which was just a great experience to graduate and teach in the same program. But now I have I'm teaching for the MS program, so the Masters of Science pathways, and it's a foundational writing course. So I'm teaching MSED 601, critical thinking and communication. So I've been doing that for the past 3 years, and just love every minute of it. Just can't say how blessed I have been just being part of this GSEP family. So it's a little bit of background about me.
Well, we are happy to have you with us. Absolutely. Now, let me hear from Natalie. So, Natalie, tell us about how you even found out about the TESOL program, and tell us what you're doing now.
Yeah. So after I graduated university, I studied linguistics and psychology and thought, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that, and ended up finding teaching. So I started teaching, and I thought, okay, I'll do this and see how I feel about it, and fell in love. And so ever since then, that was 2014. So since then, I've been teaching. But I was teaching in California, and then I thought, I'm gonna try teaching abroad. So I went to Spain to teach for a year. And then when I came back from Spain, I thought, I really love teaching, but I want to get even more education on how to write a good curriculum and how to even extend my knowledge further. I had experience, but wanted to be even better than I was, and found Pepperdine. And when I was living in Los Angeles, like, oh, it's only a year. And once I saw the pictures online, I said, okay, yeah, I could go to Malibu. I could go to Calabasas. That looks amazing. So I did the program for a year, and actually Carlos was one of my professors, and also I was helping in the writing center as well during my year to work with students that were just wanted to be better writers and improve their writing. So that was amazing, a really good experience too. But during my year when I was at Pepperdine, I got married to a man who I met when I was teaching in Spain. So now I'm living in Spain with him, which is a big change, really different. And now I'm teaching online, actually. So I kind of have my own business. I'm teaching private students, usually just one-on-one, but I have some students in Spain, and some students from China. So it's been really great. And having the title saying I have a master's degree in TESOL, it's helped so much to be able for me to get students when it's such a crazy, there's so many teachers. So it's good to have kind of the leg up and say, yeah, I went to Pepperdine and I learned a lot there. So I'll be a great teacher for you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yes, absolutely. The Pepperdine name does have some weight, so that is good.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you. Yunan, it's your turn. So tell us, how did you find out about our TESOL program, and what are you doing now?
All right. Hello, everyone. First, I feel really honored to be invited here to share my story with about my experience. So about how I found out about this program. Before I joined this program, I was an educational consultant in China, and after that, I started my own language training center, from where I realized that so many students, no matter what age they all have like sense of having no idea what to expect after they study abroad. And that is why I started to looking for programs to further extend my knowledge of understanding their mindset, to better prepare them for what is going to happen next. And I realized that the saddest part is not just about the language competency, it's also about shifting in the environment and the shifting of their identity during this transition. And I wanted to learn like how to better prepare international students who have studied English as a language, English as a second language, like I was, not only on language, but also prepare them from all the dimensions in their lives. And that is why I picked this program. There are a lot of certification programs out there for TESOL as well, but this master's program is just covering more dimensions than just a certificate. And after I joined this program, I was surprised by how this program has been designed precisely for what I was looking for, and how passionate and everybody's, like every professors, faculties from Pepperdine, like writing centers, like librarians, they are so passionate about mentoring new educators, not just language teachers, I would say, from all possible perspectives. So I joined this program from 2019 to 2020. So I was just graduated last year. So I'm pretty fresh to a fresh alumni here. And me personally, also attended Tesol during my year with this program, and I would say that is just one of the resources that this program has brought for me, and that is so unique. And you don't just get to big conferences and be able to connect with the top notches in the field as a freshman. And that's just something that is so unique about this program, is that they treated you as you're ready to to lead others and to lead yourself and continue the learning with the community from day one. Yeah. And that's
Well,
just all I want to say.
oh no, that's what you just said was fantastic. That was a lot of good information. And I wanted to ask all three of you, just to build on what you said about the connections. What are some of the connections, Natalie and Carlos, that you made while you were in the program? So I'll go to you, Natalie.
Sure, yeah. I mean, first of all, amazing friends, people that even though I'm living in Spain, we're still chatting, even though I'm so far nowadays. But just really, it is such a feeling of people supporting you and people there to just help you. So, actually, one really lovely connection, a friend of mine from the program, she actually referred me to some of her friends and family saying, "Oh, well, I know Natalie's a great teacher if you want to have lessons." So, she even helped grow my business, which was amazing and just beyond thoughtful. So, I really think everyone that I met in the program, we're all just kind of rooting for each other. We want the best for each other. So any way we can help in it's just it really feels like a family, and it's just like a really great group of people. So you really can't find better mentors and better friends, I don't think.
Well, that's a wonderful endorsement. That's wonderful. Carlos, what about you? What connections did you make while you were in the program?
Yeah, I made some really solid connections right from the beginning. Yeah, like Natalie was saying, my classmates really um, learned a lot from them. We had a pretty diverse group. We had some domestic students that were teachers in LAUSD. Like coming into the program, I had no formal teaching experience. All I had was some tutoring that I did in LAUSD. And I had some volunteer teaching in Mexico. It was very limited as far as like formal teaching lesson plans. So I really learned a lot from some of my classmates who were already in there, in USD, in LAUSD teaching, or some other of our international students from Taiwan, from China, from South Korea, all of these different backgrounds, and just really got a global perspective on teaching English, right? So that really helped to guide me, in terms of what things I didn't know or what I was unfamiliar with. I had language background, I had an English and linguistics background, so that did help me in some areas. But that formal pedagogy and the lesson planning, that was fairly new to me. So I really leaned on, my classmates to get an idea of that experience that I didn't have, and also, the mentorship with faculty. Dr. Martine Jago, which was one of the uh, original designers of the TESOL program. She just instilled such great confidence in me. She knew, like, she recognized my knowledge, my background in linguistics, and she really built on that to already kind of just instill in this confidence in me, like, that I was able to take this next step into putting it into practice in the teaching environment. So right away, I just really felt encouraged and motivated, and just really developed a good, mentoree relationship with her. Also, another faculty member, Dr. Condon, Margot Condon, who really, she was in the practicum. She set up the clinical practicum piece in the third semester, and so in that piece, when I was searching for teaching jobs, and I found this language school in the Irvine area, and I was, super nervous. I had never done teaching, but she totally put me at ease. We went over lesson plans, in addition to the curriculum, to what we're learning about. She was just really there to guide me and prepare me for the interview, coming from somewhere where you don't have any experience, any teaching experience. It just really put me at ease and made me feel comfortable with that whole process. With something that was completely unfamiliar to me. So establishing those relationships with faculty was super key. And then also just the graduate assistantship and establishing that relationship with my now supervisor, Gina Meister, having that while I was a student really set me up for success later on, because that relationship that was established, obviously she was impacted, and she felt, saw something in me, or whatever. That next year later, she remembered and informed me about this position that I had applied for. So those were some of the key relationships that I had established, and just really leaned on the faculty and my classmates for some of those things that I didn't have direct experience with. So
No, that's good information. It's good to know about the different connections that you can make with faculty, with your classmates, to help you with your careers. So that's excellent. That's wonderful. So what?
also, sorry, I will say also some of the services like Career Services Center, they came in and did some presentations, but I established some connections with them. So they also were able to help me look ahead after the
Mhm.
program, right? So, they came in and did some presentations. Yas Hardaway is her name
Yes.
now, right? So she's in career services, but that connection was also very solid. And so when I was out there trying to market myself and trying to get jobs, she had a lot of great ideas, and just the whole interview process of interviewing for a job, and how to market yourself without kind of bragging, and all that kind of stuff. She really helped to set me up for success in those, interview pieces that I was going to continue to do, after I graduated. So just want to throw that one in there too.
Oh no, absolutely. Throw in GSEP Career Services because we collaborate with them all the time. So Career Services will be definitely beneficial to you once you're ready to go out there and start looking for positions. So let me ask you, since you were talking about the different services, or and even your cohort and your professors that were very beneficial to you, did you have any challenges while you were in the program, and how did you overcome those challenges? And if so, how did your classmates or the faculty help you to overcome those challenges? So I'll start with Unit.
So honestly, looking back to that 1 year in that program, the biggest challenge and the first challenge, actually, that was the first challenge as well, and it's also a significant one for me, is that by the time I started this program, I haven't read any books in 3 years because I was too busy focusing working. And the first semester, I had 7 required books. And the first challenge for me was to just believe that they were actually going to use all those 7 books in 3 months. And I didn't think it was going to happen. But it turns out that they were serious about all of them. And for the first couple of weeks, I remember having to read each chapter for like 3 times at least. So just so I could understand what it was talking about. I remember the feeling that I knew the meaning of each word, but I just couldn't understand them when they were together as a sentence. And that was because I was having difficulty transferring myself from a work professionalist to a student, and transferring not only my mindset, but also the ability to, just sit down and read and take notes, prepare yourself for the test, for the assignment, to reflect. That's just something that I don't practice anymore after, I graduated in 2015. So after that time, I think that was the biggest challenge for me. And I also observed that one of the other biggest challenge for my classmates by that time, who they were recent graduates, so they like went from university straight to the master's degree. One of their challenge is to get ready to realize how authentic this program can be, because all the assignment, all the capstones, and also like the clinical practice um, semester. So everything is preparing you for the real world, and that's just one of their challenge, to know they are making the connection to the new world.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that's a question a lot of students have, those that have not been in school for an extended period of time. And then all of a sudden they're going back to school and wondering, will I be able to handle the work that's coming ahead of me? And then there's also with the students who are going straight from undergrad or another graduate school and going straight into another graduate program. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And so that's something else I want to ask Natalie and to Carlos. Was that an issue that you also had? Maybe going, starting from the workplace and being there for a while and then coming into starting this program? Did you have that issue, or what were some of the issues you might have had while you were in the program? So I'll start with you, Natalie.
Sure, yeah. I think that's definitely a challenge because I hadn't been in school for a while, for a few years at that point.
Mhm.
So it was like, okay, I need to get my schedule, get all my books, get everything back into like that student mentality. And especially when you're the teacher, it's a little different. So to go back to being the
Mhm.
student, to be honest, I would be a student forever. I think it was such a great experience in the program. I'm like, it was great that it was a year because you're working hard and then you're done and then you're in the real world. But I mean, if it took 5 or 10 years, I would enjoy it because it was just a really good experience. But I think when you think about a master's, it's so daunting and it's just like, can I do it? Am I gonna be able to do all the work, especially when it's in a year, when normally
Mhm.
programs can be longer.
Right.
So I thought, okay, maybe I'm going to be in way over my head, but I have to say, the expert scaffolding by all the teachers, all the professors, all the wonderful mentors that we had in the program, the classes, when you get to the end, it's like, wow, I actually can't believe I did that. But the steps are small and attainable, so going like one day at a time. Of course, it's challenging, but it's designed in a way that it's doable. It's difficult, but doable. You just need to work hard and keep focused. And how Yunan said about maybe reading once or twice or maybe 3 times just to make sure you have it. But I think when you're in it, it's all moving so fast you don't even realize how much you're actually doing because
Mhm.
there's just so much help and support if you need it. You can talk to the other people in the program, you can talk to your professors. Hey, this is difficult. What can I do? And that just, and like Carlos was saying about if you're having trouble with writing, go to the writing center. Or if you're having trouble with something, there's somebody that can help you.
Mhm.
And so even though it is so daunting and such a challenge, everybody's there cheering you on. So it doesn't feel quite so like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? It's challenging, but worthwhile.
See, that's good to know. That's good to know. Once you get in it, you know that you can get through the program successfully. So that's wonderful. Carlos, what about you? What kind of challenges did you have while you were in the program, and how did maybe your classmates and your professors help you to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, it wasn't a huge gap between finishing my undergrad to going to this master's program, but I did finish around like the spring of 2010, and then I did
Hmm.
a little bit of job searching, and basically realized that my bachelor's degree wasn't really gonna be enough really to get what I wanted as far as teaching, So in the fall of 2011, I applied to Pepperdine, but I would say some of the challenges, definitely because it's 3 terms and it's a lot of information crammed into a short amount of time,
Hmm.
especially that first term, just because coming from a linguistics background, it was a little bit. I would say I had an advantage because I had that
Hmm.
undergraduate experience, but it was like, phonology and syntax, those were full term classes that I was taking, and we got to cram that all into like a 1 term into this applied
Right.
linguistics course. So that was a challenge in terms of, that amount of work in a short amount of time. But I did build on. I saved a lot of my textbooks from undergrad, and so I was kind of able to build on some of that prior knowledge. I would say, in those areas too, where maybe my classmates weren't so knowledgeable or well versed in those areas, I was able to kind of help them, and establish that kind of relationship. And then on the other side, in the teaching, and pedagogy and classroom teaching experience and
Hmm.
management, they were able to help me with that, so those areas where I was kind of lacking or I was not knowledgeable. So it was kind of like, the symbiosis, where we were kind of filling in those gaps for each other, in those areas that we might have been lacking, so that was really helpful for me. Also, I will be honest and say, like, procrastination, that was one of my. I mean, it's kind of a bad habit, that I tend to have. I'll be honest, and so there really wasn't any room for that, with this program, with this TESOL program. I really needed to set deadlines and have
Hmm.
objectives and checkpoints. The reading, yes, multiple times, even some of these familiar concepts, I still had to reread them,
Right.
annotating in there, sitting there with the dictionary sometimes, you're reading with the dictionary next to you, just trying to really understand all of sometimes the complex terminology and things, you know. But just really disciplining myself and giving myself specific deadlines, and that really helped to um, to not procrastinate with a lot of these assignments and a lot of these papers where maybe in our undergrad or maybe in another setting we could maybe get something done in a short amount of time, but not necessarily the case with this master's program. So I had to kind of rethink my approach and my habits, and just adjust accordingly, but really leaning on my classmates for those pieces that they had experience with and I didn't, and then vice versa, with some things, the knowledge that I had and sharing with them just really helped to set and build a real close, family atmosphere with that cohort, and I like the
Hmm.
cohort model where it's the same
Right.
class every term. So you see them again, and you have your close knit culture, your classroom culture that you've established with those students. So that was really helpful.
Carlos, let me ask you, how important was the diversity of your cohort, so that you had diversity of ideas, of experiences? How important was that to you learning within that cohort?
Yeah, that was extremely helpful. At the same time, when you have someone from a similar culture or similar background, you can identify with them, you establish a relationship with them, right? Because you have some common
Right.
ground, right? Some common
Right.
footing. But having such a diverse pool of students and different perspectives, especially globally,
Hmm.
um, just really opened me up to understand, the expectations of what would constitute, teaching in that environment. Some environments that I had never
Hmm.
even thought of. I did have some aspirations of teaching in Spain, like Natalie. I wanted to go and do some teaching internationally, but that was always an idea, or like a
Hmm.
dream, so to speak. But then to actually meet people, other classmates who have done that, who have that firsthand experience, or teaching in a public school environment, right? Which something totally unfamiliar, and dealing with set standards and Common Core and this whole nother world that, I was not really familiar with, just to get that understanding and that firsthand experience from a classmate that you're seeing constantly, that was extremely helpful and extremely, just broadening my whole perspective and just thinking further as far as like where I wanted to go. I was blessed to be, in Pepperdine, still stay involved, which was a
Right.
great experience for me. But looking at other people's experiences, other classmates, just really allowed me to see what options I have, and what I can do with this master's degree. So extremely helpful to have that diversity in the classroom.
That's wonderful. Natalie and Yunan, would you say the same thing? Your experience having diversity in the classroom?
Absolutely. I mean, that was why I wanted to even teach English, because my first experience, I had students in the classroom from 15 countries. And to me, that is the
Wow.
most beautiful thing in the world. So having when you grow up in a place, you know that place, you think you know
Yeah.
so much, but it really shows you there's so many perspectives, there's so many, like when you talk to people and they have a completely different idea or they would do it a different way. I mean, you can't get that experience except from working with people who have lived it and done different things than you. So I would say that is a highlight of any classroom, when there's different ideas, different perspectives, and
Yes.
you can kind of join the best of everything together. It just makes everything better. So I definitely would say that too. Carlos is definitely right on.
And Yunan, would you agree?
Yeah, I will definitely say that diversity is the biggest part of my cohort. And I mean that not only from, I have classmates from different part of the world. We also have various background in educational wise or professional wise or I even had a classmate. She has already earned 3 PhDs or two PhDs and a master's already when she joined this program.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot of experience within the classroom. So that's excellent. Thank you for sharing all of your experience and information being in the TESOL program with us. At this time, I'm going to let Sophia join us so that she can present some of the questions that our students have for you.
Yes, thank you so much to our wonderful alumni and guest speakers for being with us today and sharing your wisdom. I have a question here from Meg. She's actually zooming in from Spain, which Natalie is also there, so that's super cool. She just had a question regarding the benefit of this master's programs versus a master's of education. If she would like to teach overseas. So if you had any of our alumni had some insight on that, or our program directors as well, Dr. Wong or Masa, if you had any tips for her. I can start with you, Natalie, since you're also from Spain.
Yeah. Well, to start, I actually don't know much about the Masters of Education, so I'm sorry, Meg. But I would say that, I mean, there's nothing there, I couldn't compare them, but I would say you will only improve your teaching, your skills, everything with this program. I loved, especially in the final, like the final third, I guess, of the course, when we were actually in the classroom. There's so many different options of where you teach. For me, I was at a community college, which I don't know if I ever would have gotten that experience if I hadn't been in the program. and just having the opportunity to kind of work on all different types of teaching, whether you're a community college, whether you want to teach preschool, it just having that experience and that the ability to try those things, then you really know, like, okay, this is for me, this is what I want to do. And you have opportunities even when you're practice teaching to, you could do a lesson for lots of different groups, which can be, it just gives you a real chance to try so many things. Like, I know you wrote that you're in the auxiliary program, and then you're just, I imagine, maybe depending on your school, but and when I did a program like that, I was just working with primary students, but then I didn't really have a chance to work with other students. So sometimes when you're at a job, they might not say, go try to teach that level. Some people might, but they might want you to have a little experience first. So that helped me a lot, that I know when I walked into a community college classroom and I knew I could do it, it gave me a lot of confidence that maybe I wouldn't have tried before I had been in the program. I might have been too nervous. So I would say you really can't lose it. This program especially was amazing. So I can't say, I can only say amazing things about it. I think you would love it.
I could add to that. So, kind of what Natalie was saying, where she was able to experience a totally different grade level or working with different students. We try to pair students up in placements, that align with their interests, or, if they want to take on a challenge to try something else, then, to do that. So it can really help you based on where you want to take this degree and how you want to leverage it. But a really good question about the difference between a Master of Arts and a Master's in Education. I would say that in general, they are very comparable to one another, and it kind of depends on the university, how they decide if it's going to be a Master of Arts or Master of Education. It might be more of the just technical pieces, accreditation, other types of pieces there. I personally have both a Master of Arts and a Master's of Education, and I can say that both of them were very comparable in coursework, in including research and having clinical experience and things like that. So, I think that if there are, I think the way to decide if that is a deciding factor is to see where you want to go with this degree. And if you want to work in an international context and the school that you really want to work in says it must be a Master's of Education, then there's your answer. But otherwise, it's really pretty open, and internationally. One of my masters was in Hong Kong and the other one's here, right? So they're really just, it's how you leverage your degree. And I think just adding on to that, then adding on to myself, is that this degree is really about how you want to take it. It's like you can kind of carve your own pathway to leverage it in a way that you'd like. You asked a question later about comparing it to the teaching credential, a California teaching credential, and that we have that as a one-year program here as well. That will prepare you to teach in the California context, and you can leverage that degree as well, but with, I don't know, I guess the pathways and sequence of courses that we offer in Tesol, we have a broader range of potential opportunities after, but it really, again, just depends on your goal.
Yeah, I would just go ahead and add on to what Dr. Wong said. I personally am an alum of GSEP when we did have our Masters of Arts in Education. So that's a degree I have, which was from my experience of going into it, and it could have been different for my cohort members, but it was very broad. We had the members in my cohort all were in the field of education, but very different from one another. So if you kind of go into wanting to get a master's program and kind of know the specialization that you're looking for, I think it would probably be better to go for a master's degree that does come with a specialization that's maybe more niche to what you want to do. If you want to keep it open and keep your options open, I would say the Master's of Education is great. Just because, like Dr. Wong said, it does cover the basis in terms of clinical experience, practicum. We did have to do things like that in the Master's of Arts, in the Master's of Education program. But then again, it's really it's really unique to the individual, I really think. So you really need to sit with yourself and see, what do I want out of this program? What are the jobs that I'm looking for? Are they requiring specializations? Are they wanting me to have X amount of experience in, some study? Because Masters of Education is so broad. We cover so many different grounds. We cover higher education, we cover K through 12. So it may not be a fit for that individual who is looking for wanting to specifically teach in a bilingual school or teach international studies. So I hope that can provide some context and a little clarification when you are making your decision.
That was so thorough. Thank you so much to all of you. We also had another question from Sophia. She asked, what is the most significant thing or skill you have learned or developed in the TESOL program? And we can start with Yunin. Did you have any a skill that you have learned or developed in TESOL program that you value?
Yeah. Well, that would be so many because I just graduated last year, so I still have memories. So I remember I studied for like not only just like language education, but also like program design, building language awareness for teachers training, studying for assessment skills for students. So like language wise, I would say that you will learn anything that you need to build on your skill set to be ready to be a language teacher. And another thing that I want to talk about is how reflective the courses are, the contents are here in this program. And I think it's pretty unique and special that it's only the Pepperdine provides that perspective, actually, because I also have friends, they graduated from other universities TESOL program, and I am confident to say that they are not as reflective as we were. And it turned out that being a reflective teacher, or being a reflective leader or a reflective mentor is one of the most significant essence, I would say, for this age. And that's just, I don't think you will get from any other program that has similarities. And the third is, the program helps you to build up on your confidence, because me personally, I'm a second language learner, and I turn out to be wanting to be a teacher who teach English as a second language as well. And that's just, traditionally I wouldn't have that type of confidence in me because, English is not my native language. But I remember the moment when I was in the TESOL conference, and I was sitting there listening to one of the speakers. And after that day, we had a little get together and to like just being reflective for what you learned from that day. And I said to my professor that day, and she was Jennifer, I said, you know what? I think I know better than he was, because I was a second language learner, and I knew what's going on in my brain when I, sit there and memorize all the vocabularies. And she, just stopped there for a second, and she said, yes, I think you do. I think you guys are the experts on learning English as a second language other than we were. And starting from that point, I think, like I mentioned, not only we were being reflective, all the professors were super reflective as well, because I can literally tell, like, from that day they were seeking to get more feedback from us while we were teaching or practicing our skill set as being a teacher. So they were so welcoming for us to bring in different perspectives. And I think building up that confidence in you is another skill or another characteristics that you will cherish for life.
Thank you so much, Yunin. Carlos and Natalie, did you have anything to add? And
Yeah,
I you have to run, so feel free to go. Go ahead, Carlos.
yeah. I'll just quickly say a couple of things. You know, it's hard to pin down, you know, one thing there, but I would say a couple of things. Really, the first term was establishing kind of like my teaching philosophy. Like, you know, we read a lot of theory about, you know, approaches, and just that time really helped me to kind of solidify like how I wanted to approach a classroom, you know, and how and the practices that I wanted to really integrate based on what I was learning about. So like constructivist teaching, you know, there were some key pieces there that really resonated with me and just really helped me to formulate, which was ongoing. You know, it wasn't just going to happen in that first term. You know, it took a minute, you know, it took the whole program to really solidify how I wanted to approach the classroom. But I would say that's one of the biggest things that I could take away was just developing my teaching philosophy, you know, based on what I was getting informed about. And then classroom management would be another piece, like, you know, doing the practicum, the clinical practicum. I visited an adult, it was an adult, like open entry, open exit, language school, you know, at a local elementary or high school, and it was after school that we would go and just observing the practices. Also, we were able to go to like visit a kindergarten classroom and just being in that day in that kindergarten classroom and observing how the dynamic of, you know, the teacher and students just really, I was able to take away so much from that, just that observing experience and reflecting, as Yunin said, you know, on that and how that would translate into me actually being in that position, in that role. So those were two really key, I guess, skills or pieces of knowledge, you know, that I was really able to take away, and that, you know, really helped to set me up for success in my teaching now, and even just the way I interact with students in tutoring consultations and helping them. There's a teaching piece there, you know. So so those were some two big experiences that really stuck with me.
Thank you for sharing. Natalie, did you have anything to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, I honestly, Carlos kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I feel the same because being able to say, like, this is who I want to be as a teacher. And in the capstone project, when we wrote, like, this is my personal statement, this is what I believe, it's like a pretty cool and powerful thing to say, this is who I am, where maybe you didn't really know what kind of teacher you were, but after a year of seeing how many experiences you've had, you can kind of say, okay, yeah, this is how I'm going to move forward. And also, I never would have presented at a conference without some pushes and some confidence boosters from the professors, like, okay, the deadline is this, like, who's going to present, and being just really having so much enthusiasm, but saying, you can do it, you know, you can. And it can be hard to do that for yourself sometimes, even when, anyway, it just was having that experience of having some cheerleaders to say, go ahead, and then being able to present at a conference with how many hundreds or thousands of people. I mean, you can't, it's really hard to get those kind of experiences, or it's few and far between for me, but having people just say, yeah, go ahead, you can do it. It was a special experience. So that was great for me too.
Thank you so much for sharing. I'm gonna give it back to Dr. Dorn so she can wrap up the event. But I just want to say thank you so much from GSEP Alumni Relations for being here with us. It really means the world to us.
Thank you, Sophia. And I'm going to wrap things up and just say we appreciate all of you for joining us today. If you have any questions for Alumni Relations, I put our contact information in the chat, as well as information regarding this roundtable. And we would love for you to be able to let us know what you thought of the roundtable. what you liked about it, where we could improve. So Sophia has on the screen the QR code for our survey evaluation for the roundtable. So if you could just use your phone and click on that to get the to go directly to the survey, or you can go in the chat because I put a link to the survey evaluation in the chat. Also, GSEP has a lot of activities that I'm sure you'd like to be involved in. And if you click on the QR code, use your phone once again, it'll take you directly to our form for our GSEP event and program committee information. So you can see all the different programs that we have at GSEP with Alumni Relations that you can be involved in. And we would love for you to participate, so click on that as well. And if you would like to contact or have any questions regarding the Tesol program, Vanessa Rosales is the enrollment officer for Tesol. So I think Vanessa had put her contact information in the chat as well. And our Sophia had our office hours for the Alumni Relations Office, and that's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with our email and our phone number, and that as well is in the chat. So once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time at our next Student Alumni Roundtable. So all of you have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Dr. Wong. Thank you, Natalie, for joining us from Spain. And thank you, Vanessa. Thank you so much. And Sophia for controlling all of the questions. So I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.